You know, everybody says, what's your hobby? I said, well, my kids and my grandkids. I said, that's not a good hobby. I said, well, that's my hobby. Our children are a message you and I will send to a time we'll never see. I'm 75. I'm on the last 9 in the clubhouse in sight. They're at the peak of their age, et cetera, but it's a cycle. And you just got to recognize that. You got to continue to invest in that cycle and improve it and make it better.
I met Johnny early on in the fall of 1962. Our personalities kind of meshed and we became good friends, and here we are now all these years later, and we're even better friends. But we palled around a lot during our University of Georgia days. We wound up marrying 5 Muse. Diane and Julianne were good friends, and we've all stayed close through the years. Johnny has a long political history. He has a long, successful business history. But he also has a history of being known as being a compassionate person.
He was a Sunday school teacher for over 30 years. So here's a man who not only has a biblical worldview, but also knows the Bible pretty thoroughly. He has a tremendous amount of contentment, as I have learned to have as well, in the fact that God's got this.
You know, a lot of people think that we're always Republican and Democrat. Johnny always came to prayer breakfast with us. He'd sit in the same spot, and he was always one of the gentlemen who would be there and had an interesting message, cared about other people, wanted to know what everybody else was doing, and he wanted to know what he could do to help you.
He has been just a great friend to all of us. For those of us who've had privilege to attend prayer breakfast with him, know what a really remarkable man of faith that he is. We know what an ethical leader he has been.
It goes without saying that Johnny Isakson is hands down the nicest person to ever serve the United States Senate, nicest person to ever walk the halls of Congress.
Gentleman, patriot, soft-spoken, no pretension, and just dedicated to making sure that his neighbors feel good.
My mother deserves, she was the sweetest lady in the world. My dad did so many things in volunteer time. But my parents just kind of ingrained in me by the way they lived their life how important it was to give to your community, give to your family, and be involved and be nice to people.
Johnny's reputation for being a good guy extends not just to his colleagues in the Senate, but to everybody on the Hill, and it starts with his staff. He was able to hire good people because he was good to his staff. He was courteous to his staff.
First day I got here, I'll never forget walking in and his door is open on both sides. And I was so confused as staff were walking through, and you know, that's his style. You know, you guys told me, no, he wants it open, he wants to see staff, he wants to talk.
He really lives the motto of friends and future friends. There's no enemy to Johnny Isakson.
The world is all about friends and future friends.
There's friends and future friends.
You always have friends and future friends. You don't have enemies.
There's only friends and future friends.
Friends and future friends.
Friends and future friends.
There are no strangers. There are only friends and future friends.
When I sold real estate, and if a guy told me, no, I'm not going to buy that property, I won't buy the one from Fred down the street, I wouldn't get mad and cuss him out. I'd say, well, next time you're looking for a house, call me again, I'll do a better job. Humiliate yourself a little bit, be humble.
I had never met him before, and I went, and confession's good for the soul, so I went ahead and said, look, I want you to know I supported your opponent. I supported Matt Collins. And his response was, you know, he's one of the nicest guys. And I said, no, I'm talking about the one who ran against you. Oh, that's who I'm talking about. He said, he's just a really nice guy who had a great campaign, and we're very good friends. He has an innate humility that is so natural.
Well, to use a line from Abe Lincoln, you can appeal to people's better angels, or you can do something else. Johnny Isakson has always appealed to our better angels.
The oldest saying here is, if you want a friend in Washington, go get a dog, which is a way of saying no one is a real friend. Johnny Isakson has been a real friend.
Johnny doesn't think just because he's got senator in front of his name that he needs to get anything special. Johnny's the guy that says, just because I got senator in my name, I got work to do, and he rolls up his sleeves and he gets it done.
I think if there were a Mr. Congeniality in the
United States Senate, he would win it hands down, no question about it.
There are very few members of the Senate that I feel are as selfless and as smaller egos than Johnny Isakson.
The nasty part of Washington, D.C. never washed off on that fine man, I can tell you.
There is no doubt about it. A lot of people around this place are political. They'll say something to you to just kind of get you out of the way or to fight or attack you. Johnny never did that. When he said, I'm going to get this done, you could believe him and you know it would get done.
Even when you disagree with him, he has an ability to make you feel like he's not only listening, but caring about what you think. And that is what always struck me about Johnny Isakson. He listened.
Johnny was outspoken for somebody who didn't have a voice at the table.
So there's this kind of nice mix of very congenial, man of integrity, steel of spine. And you put those together and you have a leader.
And he will always be remembered for honesty and integrity and setting an example of intellectual honesty for the younger generation of people who are going to be our leaders tomorrow.
I didn't do anything I did to be remembered for it. The things I did that were memorable had to be things I did because I wanted to try and solve a problem, and it turned out to be memorable because I did. So it's about relationships, it's about respect, it's about motivation, and it's about getting things done. And so make friends and be a friend, know how to be a friend, and it just makes all the difference in the world. It has for me, and that's how I've gotten elected, that's how I've been successful. And it's not about me, it's about them. It's about us. That's the way I've always felt about it.
If you're willing to continue to learn throughout your life, if you're willing to respect your fellow man and treat everybody with ethics and principle, if you're willing to love those who've gotten you to where you are and are going to take you to where you're going to be, if you find a deep and abiding faith that gets you through the difficult times, and if you're willing to dream, you can do anything in America that you want to do. This is a stadium full of parents. You are their dream, and they love you very much. Thank you.